What's going on, my eaters? It's your boy, Chef Drew, aka Chef, aka Big Drew, aka y'all. We are talking cakes today. Y'all, I'm so excited to talk to y'all and show y'all what we're gonna be doing today. But before we can get into that, please make sure you like, subscribe, do all the things so we can keep bringing you this great content. Let's go. All right, y'all, so like I said, we're talking cakes today. We have a guest in the house, or actually we are in her house. We have Miss Bonnie Bedingfield of Beautifully Baked by Bonnie, B-O-N-N-E.
Yes.
Bonnie, welcome to the Eaters. Thank you for joining us on the Eating Chambers channel. We are so gracious for you to be hosting us, and I'm super dope, super excited about talking to you today. So
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So y'all, listen. Y'all know in previous interviews, whenever Chef Drew talked to people, we try to incorporate food in some kind of way. So when we were preparing for this interview, a couple things went on. It's kind of interesting how we got here. You'll hear more about that. But I asked Bonnie what dish or what is a meal or something that strikes a chord in her, something that rings a bell. And she said...
Brunswick stew.
Brunswick stew, y'all. This beautiful lady said Brunswick stew. A whole bunch of y'all might not even know what Brunswick stew is, but it excited me. Brunswick stew is a barbecue stew. It originated in a place in Georgia. Literally, it's like the barbecue meat mixed with tomatoes, seasoned up how you want. Everyone does it their own kind of special way. Here's the thing, Bonnie. This is why it excited me. When I moved to Georgia, I was introduced to Brunswick stew. I'm from the north, and I moved here from Miami. We don't know nothing about no Brunswick stew where I'm from. But I was introduced to Brunswick stew, and it's like, I was like, what is this concoction here? It's tomatoey, it's barbecuey, but I found out very, very quickly that a lot of people, when they make Brunswick stew, they like grind it up, and it's like...
Mush.
Yeah, mush. I ain't like it, y'all. I did not like it. So fast forward now years, I'm in this Georgia thing for a minute now, and I started a barbecue business. One of the things I decided I was gonna take on in barbecue, I was gonna take it on because I was gonna make it good, because I wanted it to be good, because I believed it could be good, was Brunswick stew. Not many people know that. Gwen knows it. Maybe my close homies know it. But when this lady said Brunswick stew, I had to jump at the whole opportunity to go ahead and make you some. So I'm super excited for you to try ours out. Let us know what you think.
I'm so excited. How perfect.
How perfect. So y'all, we're gonna get this Brunswick stew going. Then we're gonna get with Bonnie and do what she does and ask her some questions. And then after we do all that, we're really gonna sit down and get to know her and let her get to know us a little bit. All right, y'all. So we're gonna heat this Brunswick stew up. I made it and did it exactly how we sell it at the farmers market at Pink's Barbecue, y'all. So we package it up. I got it defrosted a little bit. I ran a little bit of water over it. We're gonna dump it in this saucepan, heat it up, and we're gonna taste it in a minute. Cool.
Oh my gosh, that smells so good. See, I told you about that barbecue that I loved as a child. It looked like that.
It looked like that?
Yeah.
And I knew that when you said it, and I got a little excited. So we're gonna see. So y'all, in this saucepan, I got a little bit of water in here just so the meat and the tomatoes don't stick when we turn the heat on. We're just gonna turn the heat on medium, put a lid on it. When it's heated up, it's ready. Y'all, so the Brunswick stew, we heated it up right quick. We're about to get with Bonnie and see what she does and what we here for. But before we get into that, Bonnie, I really just wanna know, I feel like you're gonna like this. I feel in my spirit, I'm not just feeling myself, but I feel like hopefully this brings you back to your childhood, some moments. But I wanna keep talking about it. You tried the Brunswick stew, Bonnie. Let me know what you think.
Okay.
Let us know what you think.
I can go ahead and tell you I know I'm gonna like it. I can see what I'm eating, first of all. I love that.
So if y'all don't know what Brunswick stew is, like I said, it's a tomatoey barbecue stew. In mine, I put pork and chicken. I got lima beans in there and some corn.
I need a freezer full.
A freezer full, y'all.
Wait, I'll trade cakes for this. Oh my gosh, that's so good. It's like sweet and spicy.
Yep.
Full bodied.
Mm-hmm.
No mush.
No mush.
And I like the pop of the beans and the corn. Oh, that is so good. And you get the heat on the backside. Listen to me talking like I know what I'm talking about. I just know it's good.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say all that because everything you just said is what I was going for when I was creating this. So y'all, like I said, a lot of times when you have Brunswick stew, y'all, it's like slop, real talk. Not talking trash about anybody, but that's just what I have seen after spending at this point probably a few $100s on what I think is Brunswick stew that isn't that great. And so what I did with this was I was like, okay, let me fix all the things that I don't like about Brunswick stew. A lot of times Brunswick stew is too tangy for me. It's a little too tomatoey. That's where the sweetness comes from. I think the pepper tames the sweetness a little bit and tames the tomatoes a little bit. In order to get the texture, I don't grind up my meat, y'all. I literally pull chicken, pull meat with my hands.
I like that about it. It's really well balanced is what it is.
Thank you. Y'all heard me say balance before. Y'all know I be talking about balance and she said it, I didn't say it.
And I didn't know that you said it, so there you go.
Yo. Y'all, sometimes as a chef, and I don't know if this is like you feel this way, Bonnie, about cakes, but sometimes, you know, you don't want to be all arrogant and whatnot, but sometimes you do it and you know it's good and it is what it is.
I actually struggle with that. Like,
Do you?
know your work is quality, but you don't want to be like, yeah, it is. But you should.
I used to be that way. And I am still that way in a lot of things. But I know I did it with this stew. I just gotta say it.
Yeah.
But I get it. You don't want to be like the guy like saying, I'm great.
Right.
But sometimes we are. Great.
Chef kiss, 2 of them, just like that.
Well, y'all, Bonnie done seen what I do now. But the reason we're here is to see what you do. So Bonnie's gonna show us some chocolate sculpting. And I'm imagining this is just an element of your repertoire and what you do with cakes and I guess confections too, huh? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. So y'all, we about to get into Bonnie's world. So Bonnie, this is how we ended up here. I'm gonna let them know you were there. So, but y'all, one day I used to use this coffee shop as my office, and I was coffee shopping and doing some work. I'm sitting down at the table, and I saw this young lady sitting down next to me. Now, at the time, I was planning an event, an art event. And whatever it is I saw you working on, I know what you were working on still. I was like, oh, she must be an artist. And so y'all, I was being nosy and I figured out a way to be like, hey, excuse me, miss. And so that's what I did. And I was like, you know, I'm really into art. What you got going on there? And yo, she blew my mind. Because I'm looking at her screen and I see some kind of Egyptian busk art thing going on. And I just knew you were a sculptor or an artist or a paint, something of some sort. Y'all, she's like, yeah, I bake cakes. And I'm like, hold on. That's for a cake? And she's like, yeah. And I think at the time you were getting ready for a show at your brother's gallery or something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But y'all, the conversation continued. She was great. Clearly her cakes are next level. So I'm like, yeah, I don't know when or how, but I need her on my channel. And so we've been massaging it and talking ever since then. And boom, here we are, beautifully baked by Bonnie. We in her living room. And so today she's going to show us some chocolate sculpting. So Bonnie, do what you do. Please let us know when you do chocolate sculpting, just how that fits into your repertoire and all that as well. But
yeah, I mean, I think I would say there's so many moving parts to making a cake, but something that I'm known for is these hyper realistic sculptures of faces. And I don't like fondant. A lot of people don't like fondant.
I don't like fondant either.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of do, but I learned how to make modeling chocolate, and it's just like clay. Here, have that, mush it around.
It feels like Play-Doh, y'all.
But when you're done, hard as a rock. So
Really?
I actually will cover my cake.
That is this?
Yes, these are all chocolate. And what's cool is I started him around, this is Jack from The Shining, in case you couldn't tell. I started him around Halloween and couldn't finish him on time and just stuck him down in the basement, but I can pick him up anytime and start working on it again.
Okay.
And then his bust is the cake. So same thing with Ray Charles, same thing with this. He was a box. But I would say I'm kind of going to approach this from somebody who maybe messes around with cakes and wants to do something cool. Start just with something as simple as making modeling chocolate. I have that on my YouTube channel. Can I plug that?
Yep.
How to make modeling chocolate. And then you can practice in little bits and pieces, things that you're interested in. So I do a lot of faces. So I practice, eyeballs, because that's one of the hard things to do. A lot of cake artists will pour sugar eyeballs and they'll print out a little picture of an iris and drop it in there. But I like all of my things to be hand painted. I don't like to kind of skip corners.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you can just start with a blob like that. And what I do is I usually have some visual that I'm looking at, but let me remove my ring. I literally start by doing this, mushing into place everything that is. And the cool thing about this is it's additive or subtractive, which means you can take off a little bit and you can add it on like this. And then I don't know if the camera can pick all this up, but it's pretty cool. I will use any tool I can get my hands on. It can be the back of a marker and it just smears right in. So you can go by layers.
Y'all, she really drawing in this chocolate. It's kind of wild.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty neat how it works. I mean, you have to, I can tell you this, if you're going to sculpt, you have to know how to draw first. And then you can go on from there. When I was in college, I was an art major, but I avoided three-dimensional classes like you wouldn't believe. I didn't want anything to do with it because you can't trick the eye with three-dimensional art.
Right.
You can, the point of two-dimensional art is to trick the eye into seeing three dimensions. So this was a whole new scary thing for me.
So let me ask you a question, Bonnie.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this about me, but my wife is a baker.
Mm-hmm.
We met in culinary school. I was in culinary school. She was in baking and pastry school. So she's a baker. She comes from a line of bakers. Her mama was a baker, her sisters, her grandma, all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and I'm in the farmer's market world every week as well. I'm surrounded and I see a lot of bakers.
Right.
Lots. All different kinds. I work with a bunch of them. But there's a jump from baking cookies and cakes with your mama in your living room to this stuff. So talk about that. Have you always baked have you always been into baking? Like, when did you make the jump? Like, I'm just intrigued.
You know what? Nobody's ever asked me specifically like that before. And not to throw my mom under a bus, but my mom hated to be in the kitchen. She hated to cook. She hated to do any of that stuff. And because she was a school teacher, she was busy. She was tired when she got home. And I think I do remember watching a cross between Bob Ross and then Martha Stewart would come on. And I used to look at Bob Ross's paint palette and be like, I wonder what that tastes like. Like, who thinks that? Anyway, and then Martha Stewart would come on. I remember her decorating a cake and just being like obsessed about it. So fast forward like many, many years later, I think that always stuck with me. But my mom not wanting to be in the kitchen, if I wanted something, I had to figure out how to make it.
Right.
And I have a massive sugar tooth. So this is all self-taught. My baking is all self-taught. Everything has been trial and error. I'm into it now 17 years, but everything that I know has been through a lot of error until I've gotten where I wanted to go. I didn't even take three-dimensional classes in college. One, but that was it. So yeah, but I also come from I do believe it's a hereditary thing because all of us are artists.
Right. Right.
But you know what? I do like to tell people this. The biggest gift my parents gave me was they didn't deter me from moving into doing art. They were very supportive and they just said, you find the thing that you're the very best at and you become the best at it.
Right. Right.
And it has to be something that you enjoy and something that you're passionate about. Little did I know it would be chocolate sculpting.
Wow. So y'all, I'm really watching an eye socket come to life out of this chocolate right next to me. And I want you to look at what we going on. Like I saw this chocolate head over here, y'all, and I'm like, oh, that's Ray Charles. That's a creepy clown. And I can see Jack resemblance over here. This lady said she is self-taught. Not just this, but all of it. And I just think just looking at what I'm looking at, knowing what this is, at least holistically, is kind of phenomenal, Bonnie.
Well, I really am glad that this is what I do on a day-to-day. I mean, just to get up and do what you want to do. But like I told you earlier, people are always like, wow, I hate it when people say this. What can you not do? Because I can easily answer, I cannot spell.
Right.
And I have a really hard time with math. But then you know what? It occurred to me as an adult that I use math every single day to do all of this.
Yep.
Like I couldn't build a giant, whatever if I didn't know how to, if I didn't have the skill set to actually build it and construct the internal parts of it.
Right.
So, yeah. This is really all I can do. So I might as well be good at it.
Right. Y'all, she just whipped up an eye out of chocolate right quick. What can you whip up right quick? That's kind of insane.
I can go on and on with that. I better stop while I'm ahead.
Is it the type of thing, do you find yourself when you're doing this stuff that if you don't check yourself, you could just keep fiddling with it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you could go on and on for days. 4 days.
Joe, you're not, well, you do work in food, but you're not a baker. You wouldn't consider yourself a chef. What's it like to see this? She just did that. Is that crazy, or is it just me?
No, that's crazy.
You know what's funny though? Like, I guess because my kids are around it all the time, I'll get really excited about a piece and like, they've been away, they've seen bits and pieces of it, and I finish it and they come home from school and I'm like, what do you think? They're like, yeah, it's pretty cool. I'm like, no!
they got chocolate heads in their house that their mama made.
I know, like they don't even like cake because they smell it all the time, and I'm always like, here, taste this. So, but yeah, boom, there's an eyeball. Just like that.
Bang! How fast can you bang an eyeball out, y'all? I can't. I'm just. Bonnie, that's super dope. I feel like I'm artistic, but in a different way. I don't know.
That's what makes the world go round. But this is how I would suggest for people who are interested in learning how to do it, is just taking bits and pieces and finding something that interests you and try to pull it out. I mean, it's practice makes perfect, right?
Right, for sure.
But a lot of it for me is feeling. Like I want to feel that. I know where stuff goes because I can kind of feel it.
Really?
So it's an intuitive thing.
I kind of feel that way. I mean, I guess I feel that way as a chef.
When you're cooking, right?
Yeah, when I cook.
You're like, this needs a little bit of.
Yeah.
And I bet you're one of these, you don't go get your teaspoon out. You feel it.
Not on the day-to-day. Yeah, on the day-to-day, yeah, it's definitely free flying with me.
Yeah.
That's cool. And I feel that way like with like that Brunswick stew. One of the things with that stew that was real important to me when I was creating it was the viscosity, how thick it is.
Mm-hmm.
It was just important to me that it was not dry, but
not too wet either.
But it wasn't soup or stew.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, for me, the picture that was in my head was whenever I was making, I make everything in big batches. Whenever I was making, I wanted my spoon to stand up in the pot and just playing with it. You got to stir it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know when, just by the feel of the pot.
That's how I am with icing.
I know when the thickness is right.
Let me ask you something about what you do.
Yeah.
When you make your Brunswick stew, is it like down to the, you know, exactly how much of everything, or is each batch a little bit different with like you're throwing stuff in there and you're seeing how it feels, or are you like measuring?
Both.
Okay.
So because I sell my stuff commercially, it has to be a level of consistency.
Right.
So once I figured it out, then I had to go back, deconstruct, and weigh everything.
That's how I work too.
To make sure I can recreate it. Mm-hmm. However, because it's barbecue and I do live fire cooking, with my barbecue is just wood and charcoal. Mm-hmm. There's no way to tame that. Mm-hmm. So the pulled pork this time will never be exactly like the pulled pork last time.
Right.
Or if the wind is blowing, the bark is a little harder this time than it was last time because of the spikes in the temperature and stuff like that.
Well, that's the beauty of it.
And so to that aspect, the barbecue will never be exactly the same either way, but the dish, the Brunswick stew itself, the recipe is there.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But y'all, check out her stuff. She's got some pretty dope stuff. You see some of her work here. Make sure, like she said, on everything, Beautifully Baked by Bonnie, Bonne. Y'all also, thank you for liking, subscribing, doing all the things to help us continue to bring you this great content. And before we go, remember our homeboys, Last Night's Coffee with Chuck and John on all podcast platforms. Some great guys, great content. Until then, y'all, we are gone.